Economic Inequality in India and Dr. Ambedkar. In our last video, we have discussed how, according to Dr. Ambedkar, inequality in India is not pure inequality, but is graded inequality. And social psychology created by graded inequality made any revolt against inequality impossible. Dr. Ambedkar's observations about caste system in India is precise and penetrating. He observes that castes are not placed horizontally, but vertically, one above the other. Brahmin is placed on top of the hierarchy, who are assigned all rights and privileges by birth. Kshatriya is placed below the Brahmin, who has less rights and privileges than Brahmin, but more than Vaishyas and Shudras. Vaishya is placed below the Kshatriya, who has less rights and privileges than Brahmins and Kshatriyas, but more than Shudras. Shudra is placed below the Vaishyas, who has more rights than untouchables, but less than Brahmins, Kshatriyas and Vaishyas. Untouchables have no rights. The caste system was sanctified and legalized by providing philosophical base of religion. Dr. Ambedkar speaks about graded inequality which pervades all areas of social life in India. In 21st century India, this graded inequality finds place in every area, be it economy, education, health, or any other field. Two important reports published, one in July 2017 and other published recently just before the Davos Economic Summit. These reports reveal the level of economic inequality in India. First report, British Raj to Billionaire Raj, a paper published by Thomas Piketty and Lucas. Thomas Piketty is a celebrated French economist who is an author of world-famous book Capital in 21st Century. According to the paper, India's income inequality in 2017 may be the worst than it was during British Raj. The research paper by the two economists showed that income inequality in India was at its highest in 2014 since 1922, the year country passed the Income Tax Act. Second report is of international rights group Oxfam India, which says 73% of the wealth generated last year went to the richest 1%, while 67 crore Indians who comprise the poorest half of the population saw 1% increase in their wealth. In the last 12 months, the wealth of the elite group increased by 20,913 billion. This amount is equivalent to total budget of central government in 2017 and 18. In his speech on 22nd December 1952 at Pune District Law Library, Dr. Ambedkar mentioned 6 conditions precedent for successful working of democracy. The very first condition, according to him, a condition precedent for the successful working of the democracy is that there must be no glaring inequalities in the society. These two reports are very significant in understanding economic inequalities in India. But what these reports do not reveal is that the income inequality in India is a graded income inequality. 4 studies and its report, which I shall be discussing now, establish that income inequality in India is not pure income inequality, but graded income inequality. This is 6th Economic Census and India Labour and Economic Report. This report reveals that SC/ST population owns very less economic establishments, while their share in working class population is very high. But the upper caste Hindus figured at other extreme, very high ownership of economic establishment, low share in working class population. Thus, the ownership of main assets, namely building, land and financial assets, is heavily concentrated in the hands of high caste. In case of OBC, except the building and financial assets, in the case of other assets, the share is in proportion to their population share. In case of scheduled caste, their share at overall level and for all assets is much less than their population share. This second slide is from India Labour and Employment Report 2014. A value greater than 1 means that a given social group has a greater than proportionate share in a given employment category. As per this report, you will find that among self-employed workers, SC/ST are the lowest, while they are highest in numbers among casual laborers. But among the upper caste, the situation is exactly reverse. Highest level of self-employed and lowest level of casual laborers. This graph shows that higher caste have much higher share in white-collar skilled job and land-owning farmer, while scheduled caste, scheduled tribe groups have highest share among semi-skilled and unskilled workers. The fourth image is in front of you. From above slide, it is clear that well-being of social groups also follows pattern of graded inequality. The slide shows among the poorest share of SC/STs is highest. Among the richest, it is upper caste Hindu that dominates. The fourth studies mentioned here was published on 21st October 2016 in Live Mint newspaper. In 2013, almost 45% of the country's wealth is owned by high caste, which exceeds their population share of 21%, almost twice their population share. The OBC owned about 31%, which is less than population share, but fairly close to their population share of 36%. The scheduled caste, however, own only 7% of the country's wealth, which is much less than their population share of 18%. The graded inequality in ownership of wealth still persists despite policies to improve the ownership of wealth. It is clear from these reports that this graded inequality persists in economic field also. There are various studies and reports which proves that this graded inequality is also found in education and in health indicators. According to Dr. Sukhdev Thorat, who is also a co-author of the book Blocked by Caste, in case of all indicators of human development or human poverty, namely per capita consumption expenditure, percentage of poor people, malnutrition and educational attainment, the graded inequality still persists. The high caste do better than OBC and SC, the OBC lag behind the high caste but are better than SC, while the SC, who are located at the bottom of the caste hierarchy, are worse than both high caste and OBC and suffer most from low human development. Traditional graded inequality still persists after 68 years of enactment of the Constitution. The main reason behind this is because of caste privileges. Higher castes are born with better endowments and hereditary property sufficient to give them good start in life. Even after enactment of Constitution, higher castes use caste discrimination as a weapon to maintain their caste privileges and economic rights, especially in villages. If one does not follow caste norms, if lower caste try to live respectfully and try to do other jobs, higher caste uses weapon of social boycott or excommunication, which according to Dr. Ambedkar is the most lethal weapon. Combined with other penalties for violation of caste codes, both for the high caste and low caste, help to maintain the ancient system in modified form in the modern time more effectively than formal laws. Second important reason is caste discrimination pervades in every area of social life. Job market is not untouched by caste discrimination. In employment, caste discrimination is there both in public and private sector, but more in private sector and less in public sector. And government is on a privatization spree. Studies shown here confirm rampant discrimination in job market in India. Thoratas et al. The Legacy of Social Exclusion, a correspondence study of job discrimination in India, 2007. Thorat S. Human K.S. Blocked by Caste, Economic Discrimination and Social Exclusion in Modern India, 2010. Deshpande A. The Grammar of Caste, Economic Discrimination in Contemporary India, 2011. Employment Situation of Dalits and Other Disadvantaged Group, paper submitted in 2014. On 15 September 1938, speaking on the Industrial Dispute Bill, Dr. Ambedkar said, and I quote, "What we want is not equality. What we want is equity. What I want to urge before this House is that equality is not necessarily equity. I am going to prove it. In order that it may produce equity in society, in order that it may produce justice in society, different people have to be treated unequally. Why go so far? The reason why we tax the rich at a higher rate and poor at a lower rate is because the taxable capacity of the two is different. In case like that, equality would produce the greatest inequality." He further elaborates with beautiful example. One person of the family which have many members is not well. We give him chicken soup so that he becomes healthy. But we do not give chicken soup to other members of the family. Ill member of the family gets chicken soup and other healthy members do not get chicken soup. But because of that, other members of the family do not blame the mother. Scheduled castes and scheduled tribes are rendered unhealthy by the social system of India. They need chicken soup to get well or become as healthy as upper caste. In his editorial in Janata on 9th November 1940, he writes, "Importance of French Revolution and Russian Revolution is immense in the history of mankind. Although the day of French Revolution is not celebrated, it is important because it emphasized social equality and social liberty. After French Revolution, Russian Revolution is the important milestone in the history of mankind. Russian Revolution is important because it tried to establish economic liberty and economic equality. Without economic equality, social equality and social liberty are meaningless. Those who do not have wealth do not have mind. He who does not have property does not have liberty because he is dependent on others for his living. Dependent person can never be independent. The ways of Russian revolutionaries are faulty. It can be said that for establishing economic independence, they destroyed personal liberty. Whatever is there, but we all must accept one thing, that in reality, whenever there is unlimited economic inequality, there cannot be real liberty." Article 38(2) of the Directive Principles of State Policy of Constitution of India says, "The state shall strive to minimize the inequalities in income and endeavor to eliminate inequalities in status not only amongst individuals but also amongst groups of people residing in different areas or engaged in different vocations." Article 39(c) of the DPSP of the Constitution of India says that the state shall in particular direct its policies towards securing that the operations of the economic system does not result in the concentration of wealth and means of production to the common detriment. Article 46. The state shall promote with the special care the educational and economic interest of the weaker sections of the people, and in particular of the scheduled caste and scheduled tribes, and shall protect them from social injustice and all forms of exploitation. In the Constitutional Assembly debates, while speaking on DPSP, Dr. Ambedkar said, and I quote, "We are to establish political and economic democracy. For that, directive principles of state policy are our ideals. The aim of entire constitution is to follow them." Dr. Ambedkar said that directive principles of state policies and principles to achieve economic democracy, DPSPs are instruments of instructions by the people to the government. Right to food, right to education, right to shelter. were not fundamental rights enshrined in our constitution, but by widening the definition of right to life as a right to live life with dignity and making these rights as a part of it, the Honorable Supreme Court has demonstrated a high level of judicial activism and has proved that Constitution is a living Constitution and has proved that our Constitution is a living Constitution. In view of the existing dire social and economic conditions of the SCs and STs and the prevalent graded economic inequality, which according to Dr. Ambedkar poses a threat to liberty and democracy in the country, the Honorable Supreme Court should also redefine Article 38, 39 and Article 46 of our Constitution as a fundamental rights and pave the way for realizing economic democracy in the country. Jai Bhim.